Okay, Daniel, I think we can go ahead and get started. I'll just keep monitoring the waiting room and we'll go from there.
All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us this afternoon. We realize that it is a busy weekend. There's a lot happening around us. Obviously, the mosquito fire burning just outside of the city of Auburn. One of the main reasons why we all collectively wanted to get together this afternoon and talk about wildfire preparedness. So first, my name is Daniel Berlant. I am one of your city council members, but also representative of the Greater Auburn Fire Safe Council. With me today, we have a number of individuals from a number of organizations that are here that will be speaking on some very important topics that we hope you will find critical, including folks from the National Weather Service, our Placer County Air Pollution Control District, our Placer County Animal Shelter, our Greater Auburn Area Fire Safe Council, and then really critically, our local Auburn Police Department, our own Auburn Fire Department, and then really the people who are the busiest. We are very fortunate to have Chief Mike Rufinat from CAL FIRE, who has been leading many of the efforts on the mosquito fire for CAL FIRE. He has joined us to give us a fire briefing. Again, for today's meeting, we're really focused on Auburn and we're really focused on bigger picture. I'll let the chiefs talk a little bit about the danger Auburn is not immediately in, and that's really important to note as well. Chief Rufinat will likely talk about other opportunities for those who may be more interested and have detailed questions about the mosquito fire itself. Again, we are really focused today on talking about preparedness and what you can do as an Auburn resident to be prepared. So first, I want to introduce Eric Kurth from the National Weather Service to talk to us about the weather that we've been experiencing and what we can expect. It's already cooler, Eric, but thank you for joining us.
We're just going to move this.
Yeah, good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you just fine, thanks.
Okay, great, thanks. Yeah, as mentioned, we've come through quite a impressive heat event, probably one of the hottest events we've seen in a long time. And we set some major records throughout the area, but we are in for a big change. And I'm going to show you a little bit of what we can expect for Auburn for temperature-wise. Okay, so in terms of temperatures, actually that should be 89 here today. We're expecting as a high, and then dropping to 88 on Sunday, 86 on Monday, 80 on Tuesday, and 76 on Wednesday. So we are seeing a pretty clear downward trend in temperatures. So I'm sure that's welcome, but it will still be quite hazy and smoky because we do have, the mosquito fire has been producing quite a bit of smoke. We are seeing some improving humidity as well as cooler temperature. And this pattern looks like it's going to continue well into next week. So I'm happy to say we're not going to be seeing record temperatures. We're not going to be seeing the super dry conditions as well. So humidity will be trending up, and that's particularly true by Wednesday. We have a trough disturbance coming in, and that's not going to bring much in the way of rain, but it's going to bring some more cooling and some more moisture. So we'll see a little bit more wind as well. There's going to be this southwest wind that picks up every day in the afternoon hours. It's not going to be really strong wind. We're expecting about 4 to 8 miles an hour generally, except maybe on that Tuesday and Wednesday, where it could be 5 to 10 with gusts 16 miles an hour. So a little bit more wind, but that will be bringing some more moisture, like I mentioned as well. Now, one thing I wanted to show as well.
Eric, really quick, I wanted to let you know you are showing us the Zoom meeting. We're not seeing the graphics.
Okay. Are you able to see?
Yep,
are you able to see the graph? Okay. I wanted to show you the smoke model here, and this is called the Hurt Smoke model, and it tries to project where smoke from wildfires is going to be going. So if you look at it here, this is showing with some of those southwest winds, that onshore wind that I mentioned during the day. And then at night, there's these easterlies which develop. So again, here we have Saturday afternoon, this wind that's blowing from the southwest.
That's
And
smoke on this.
No,
Yeah.
this is a fire.
please, everybody, make sure you mute. But yeah, the model showing that smoke generally pushing further to the east, and then overnight, again, we get some lighter downslope or easterlies, and then you can see here again Sunday afternoon that wind is shifting eastward into the Nevada area. So there could be some improvement with smoke generally for the Auburn area in the late afternoon, evening, and then you can see overnight and into the early morning hours that smoke gets then pushed back down into the Auburn area, into the foothills. So that's just sort of a general pattern. I think we're going to be seeing, wildfires burning over the next week. So that's what we have to look for. And I think I'll end it here.
Great, thank you very much, Eric. I know you might have to go. If anybody has questions for Eric, please put those into the chat. Eric, thank you very much. Next, I want to introduce Eric White from the Air Pollution Control District to talk a little bit more about that smoke.
Oh, thanks, Daniel. Let me share my screen here as well. Bear with me just a second. And where is it?
He's ready. He's really ready.
They can hear us. Uh-oh, what happened?
That doesn't seem to be it either. Goes. Let me try this one more time. You think after all this time I'd have this down, right? Thought I had it up and running. Well, let me get started. Can you see the screen, Daniel, or I can't tell if I'm sharing it or not.
Yeah, you can see it. Just want to make it a little bigger.
How's that?
Much better.
Much better. Okay. Well, thanks for having me. My name is Eric White. I'm the Air Pollution Control Officer here in Placer County. For those of you who don't know where we are, we're on Maple Street, 110, right across the street from the courthouse. Did that change slides? Because I can't tell from my screen. Okay, perfect. So we're a special district here in Placer County charged with attaining and maintaining ambient air quality standards and protecting public health. We have a governing board of 9 members. 3 supervisors are on our board, along with 6 members, 1 member from each of the 6 incorporated cities. Daniel serves on our board of directors and represents the city of Auburn on the Air District Board. We do a number of things. There's not enough time today to talk about all that we do. I really want to focus on and build on what Eric was talking about, the smoke. Some of the key things we do is we have a number of air monitors throughout the county. We do have one in North Auburn. It's the closest one to the city that we regularly run. And we do a lot of smoke management and public outreach when we have wildfire events. We work very closely with the county health officer and the county health and human services to issue health advisories when the smoke gets bad in the county. And we also work very closely with the land managers throughout the county. This is everyone from the private land managers to the Forest Service and CAL FIRE, the Bureau of Reclamation, state parks, on encouraging and working with them to get prescribed fire to reduce the fuel loading that we see in the forest throughout the county. The map that Eric just showed from the Forest Service was great because it does a great job of kind of showing how that smoke shifts around. One of the things we've tried to do is make information about how the public can respond and protect themselves when we have smoke events with a very robust and detailed web page. You can see here there's a QR code that you can scan with your phone. It will take you to that website. For those of you that like to type in placerair.org/8126/smoke will take you there as well. There's a lot of good information about masks, about how to curtail activities based on smoke levels, and from health information about smoke impacts for sensitive populations, for instance, seniors, young children, those with asthma, those who have cardiovascular issues, and how they can protect themselves during these types of events. We also have information and links to get to the US EPA and US Forest Service Health and Smoke Map. Some of you may have seen that. It's a great tool to kind of show the current conditions around where the smoke is, using both monitors like the Air District operates, as well as personal air monitors that many people have in their backyards, typically called purple airs. And there's also information about how to be ready, smoke ready, both from the US EPA as well as the California Air Resources Board. Things you can do to protect yourself as you get into and as we are in wildfire season. Here's a snapshot. I mentioned the fire and smoke map that the US EPA runs. This is a map from yesterday morning. I've circled Auburn there. You can see the dark purple. That represents very, very poor air quality. I think all of you probably experienced this firsthand yesterday morning. And so this was 7:30 there in the morning. If you go to our website, again, you can find a link to get to this information. You can bookmark it, and then at any time you want, you can find what the real-time air quality conditions are, not just in Auburn, not just in Placer County, but anywhere in the United States. And that, Daniel, is it. So a lot of information on our website. I think Eric did a great job. What we have seen in our monitors is what their models predict. Poor air quality in the mornings and overnight hours in the foothills that will drift to the east, impacting Lake Tahoe and the Lake Tahoe Air Basin during the day, and then those shift back down the hill to the lower elevations again in the afternoons and evenings. And so I will just end to say that we do have a health advisory that is currently in place that we've with Placer County Health. That's in place through Monday. I have every expectation that with the current conditions in the fire, that will be extended probably through the end of next week as well. But we'll look at that Monday morning when we get back in the office. So Daniel, thanks for having me today.
Great, thank you, Eric.
Questions.
Yep, thank you. I should have started off the meeting with, if you have questions, throw them in the chat feature. That would be the best way. But at the end of it, for our presenters that are able to stay, I know that many of them will be here to answer those questions. So we'll do questions and answers at the end. One more quick housekeeping. Again, if you're just joining us, please self-mute yourself just so that we can hear the speakers. So our next speaker, we are really honored to have because of how busy this person is. I want to introduce Chief Mike Rufinat. He is the division chief for our region of CAL FIRE, Placer County Fire, and has been the past incident commander of the Mosquito Fire. Chief, thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to your update.
Thanks for having me today. And I'll just start out from day one when this started on September the 6th. So at about 6:30, 6:09, something like that, I was in Auburn, and we heard this fire get dispatched. They were dispatching the TNF, the Tahoe National Forest, from the Placer County side, as well as the El Dorado National Forest was dispatching units outside of Volcanoville on their side of the river. And then Forest Hill Fire Department was also being dispatched. And myself and Nolan Held, one of my battalion chiefs out of Auburn, him and I both headed up there just to get eyes on this, just due to the location. It was dispatched near the Oxbow Reservoir down in the bottom of the canyon. So nobody really had eyes on it, didn't have a good location, a lot of equipment going. So we made the 17-mile drive, and about the time I was probably hitting Forest Hill area, units went at scene, and they said they had about 5 acres moving up out of the canyon for the bottom of the canyon area at Oxbow Reservoir. Very concerning. Still didn't have a real good indication of what side of the canyon it was on. As far as we knew, it was in Placer County at that point, but we didn't know, is it on Placer County and El Dorado County? Is it just on Placer County, or is it in Placer County if you're familiar with that area down at Oxford, when you take Mosquito Ridge Road down there, was it down at Circle Bridge? Was there an imminent threat to Forest Hill? Didn't have real good intel on that. So made my way down, was trying to make phone calls, talk on the radio at the same time, just trying to get real good intel, figure out what we were going to need in there to assist the Tahoe National Forest with this fire. At the same time, I know we've talked about it, several meetings, our unified command training that we do with Placer County Sheriff's Office and Auburn Police Department. And this was imperative, and I was on the radio direct with one of the sergeants and the lieutenant, the on-duty lieutenant from Placer County SO, advising them that, hey, you need to get up here. This could be really bad. So made it down to the bottom of the canyon on Mosquito Ridge Road, and where I could see across, the Tahoe National Forest was trying to suppress the fire. At that point, they had a couple engines at scene. They had one of their divisions en route, and they also had aircraft, and that would be Air Attack 17, the federal air attack out of Grass Valley Air Attack Base, and 2 air tankers. And from the side of the canyon, I'll go to some pictures here in a minute and show you exactly what I saw when I arrived. It was on a knob, and the fire was sitting between the middle fork of the American River, where it goes into Oxbow Dam, and then the north fork of the middle fork. So it was kind of surrounded, had river on 2 sides, basically going up the knob onto Ralston Ridge area, if you're familiar with that area. The fire wasn't doing a whole lot. Okay, it was burning. It had already burned uphill and part of the fire from the origin area, as far as I could see, and then it was burning down, coming downhill towards the middle fork of, or excuse me, the north fork of the middle fork of the American. Wasn't doing a whole lot. Units were en route. The Tahoe National Forest had taken command of the fire, and they were trying to get in there and get a plan of attack. Air attack, like I said, had the 2 S2 S2T air tankers out of Grass Valley Air Attack Base, and then shortly after, Air Attack ordered up some helicopters to assist. This canyon was very steep, and then the time of day, we did not have a lot of time for the aircraft to fly before we were going to hit their cutoff time because it was too dark. In addition to that, just you're trying to work aircraft inside a really tight, steep canyon, and on that canyon area, if you look at some of the maps, you'll see PG&E has a 60 kV and a 230 kV electric lines, very big lines. Those 230 kV are the big high tension wires that you see. So not a real safe operation for flying aircraft whatsoever. So as this fire is burning downhill towards the north fork of the middle fork of the American, a thunder cell comes over, and this thunder cell, it didn't go directly over the fire, just right on the edge, and the winds picked up to about 25 miles an hour and caused this giant downdraft to come down of wind and basically spread that fire out. At that point, we were seeing a lot of rolling down into the canyon, and keeping our fingers crossed that this thing wasn't going to go straight to the bottom of the canyon and jump across. And it wasn't really doing that, but the fire intensity when that thunder cell came in, it definitely picked up. And I have some pictures here to show you in a minute with those. So at the point where that thunder cell started coming in, I made the decision that Placer County Sheriff's Office, myself, I was trying to wrangle the troops. I grabbed Chief Jed Matcham from Forest Hill Fire, who was down on the fire with the TNF, get him, and I got the TNF incident commander, and we all made our way up to Forest Hill to set up an incident command post at the Forest Hill Fire Department admin building. Super imperative to have us all in the same room to find out what we could do to assist the Tahoe National Forest to keep this thing as small as possible. Started ordering a large amount of resources, and as we're up there getting things organized, had not crossed the river yet. But we did have a large amount of rollout, and that's rollout is that burning material that's coming off the side of the hill rolling down. And sometimes that burning material rolls into unburned material. And so that races right back up towards the fire. Big concern, very dangerous. Especially that side of that hill is so steep, if you're familiar with that area, that you can't get mechanized equipment down there, bulldozers, you can't get those in there. You really can't get firefighters in there. The only thing that really works on that steep of a hill is air assets, and we knew that we were very limited on time frames due to darkness and the steepness of the canyon and power lines. So shortly after we were in Forest Hill, probably an hour, and we got word that the fire had jumped the river, and that would be the North Fork of the Middle Fork, just downstream from Circle Bridge. We had a CAL FIRE strike team, 5 engines and a battalion chief that we put on that road down there and said, don't let this thing jump Mosquito Ridge Road. And if you're familiar with Mosquito Ridge Road down by the Circle Bridge, you're absolutely correct. There's no way we're going to stop it from popping out of there in those conditions. But those guys gave it a concerted effort to stop it. In the meantime, we're ordering up large amounts of equipment to Forest Hill because I don't know what we're going to have. So in short, the equipment's coming, our incident command structure is being set up. We're ordering, trying to get equipment from North Region, a lot of equipment just from outside the area, knowing that this is going to be bad. So go through the night, the fire starts, it makes it over Mosquito Ridge Road, starts going up towards Michigan Bluff. Pulaski County Sheriff's Office starts doing evacuation warnings and then orders for Michigan Bluff area, along with Baker Ranch. In short, in 0500 hours, the fire has grown to 822 acres. And so we keep progressing. Now we're into the next morning. The sun's coming up at 10:33. Fire progression is now at 10:33 a.m. We're at 1,200 acres. At 4 p.m. we've grown to 4,223 acres. So you can see the fire progression. Things are starting to really gather up. And I don't know if any of you were in the Auburn that day. You can see the smoke coming up pretty good, the smoke column coming up, and there was a lot of equipment rolling up Forest Hill Road. Private equipment and federal U.S. Forest Service equipment, CAL FIRE equipment, and private equipment. This was turned into a very high priority fire very quickly for CAL FIRE. And since about day one, it's been the #1 priority fire in the state. So on September the 8th, at 0300, the fire had gone to 6,870 acres. By 1 p.m. that day, and then, let me back up a minute. We had decided to transition. This thing was going to expand beyond the local capabilities. So the Tahoe National Forest decided that they were going to bring in a Type 1 team. And we were transitioning with that team on September the 8th at noon in Nevada City. And so at 1 p.m. on September the 8th, that fire was 8,265 acres. Now, this is the day that fire jumped the lines on the Middle Fork of the American into El Dorado County, going up towards Volcanoville. Extreme fire behavior, a lot of unburned fuel in there. 1 p.m., 8,265 acres. 4:50 p.m., 13,705 acres. And that's when it looked like that fire went nuclear from Auburn. Very scary situation for everyone involved. By 11:09 that night, the fire was up to 25,000 acres. And then September 9th, which was, check my watch, I don't know what day it is, that was yesterday. yesterday at 10:30 in the morning, it was 29,500 acres. And then last night, the fire reached at 10:45, 33,574 acres. We haven't had sensory aircraft come over the fire to give us a good update on the size since then. But let me go ahead and go to see if I can get my screen share to work. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay. So obviously there's the start date of the mosquito fire started September 6th, approximately 6:27 p.m. So this is one of the first pictures I took of the mosquito fire, and this is coming up basically out of the Oxbow area. I'm on Mosquito Ridge Road looking south towards that Oxbow area into that far, the hillside that's on fire there is Placer County. The hillside in the background where that smoke is actually El Dorado County. This is 7:30 p.m. This is when that thunderstorm came through. 6 minutes later, there's what you have. You can see the extreme fire behavior. You can see the flame lengths. You see the telephone pole right where my cursor is. You can see the cursor there. That telephone pole is very tall, and you can see those flame lengths. So that gives you an indication of how much fire activity picked up when that thunder cell came through. So moving forward today, it's 33,754 acres. That's pretty much the footprint of the fire. And can you see my cursor on the screen where it says Forest Hill?
Yes.
Okay, so crews in this Forest Hill area on this line right here, they have line going down to the river, and they've been tying this in. So they're making a lot of progress. Oop. Back up here. They're making a lot of progress in the Forest Hill area. The Forest Hill area is the number 1 and 2 priorities are the Forest Hill area and then the Georgetown Volcanoville area, and I'll explain that in a minute. And mainly because those areas are so not highly populated, they are populated, a lot of homes, a lot of wildland urban interface. So crews are making very good progress with the weather yesterday and especially today with the cooler temperatures in the Forest Hill area. All behind Forest Hill where my cursor is, going behind, if you're familiar with where CAL FIRE Station 11 is, there's a lot of dozer line being put in there, a lot of good work being done there today. This fire is still 0% contained, but we hope to have some good containment, some percentage of containment somewhere around this fire tomorrow and start making headway on that. This has just been a really tricky fire. You can see how this thing is burned in several directions. Now, if you go down, follow my cursor down, here on the Georgetown side, this white line right there, that's Wentworth Springs Road. So this fire is burning all the way up. Here's Stumpy Meadows right here. And about right in here is where the King Fire burn starts. And that occurred in 2014. So this is the Rubicon Canyon right here. That Rubicon Canyon goes down. That Rubicon Canyon is very, very steep. Probably one of, I'm an avid fisherman. I love fishing our rivers here. They're amazing. I will tell you where my good fishing spots are because you'll never want to go back again because our canyons are so steep. And that Rubicon River, you better take some rope gear with you. It is very steep in there. It's a very deep canyon. So that is going to be an issue for the Forest Service as they try and suppress that on that division down there. Now we're in unified command with Placer County Sheriff's Office, CAL FIRE, U.S. Forest Service, and then there's California Incident Team 5 that's running the fire. So if being in unified command means that we're all sitting at the table, we're all working together to suppress this fire. And like I said, this weather is helping us out immensely. The bulk of the fire spread has been from, you see where the red that's roughly where the origin is, where that little red dot is, where my cursor is. So the bulk of the fire is spread out to the east, and it's running with those drainages and with that fuel that's out there. So we have, the spread hasn't been, it's definitely spread to the west, but not like it is spread to the east. So hopefully this weather will work out in our favor. Hopefully those winds won't come out. You heard Eric talk about, for the National Weather Service, talk about the weather. So hopefully this is a positive weather system that's moving through, and it doesn't throw us any curveballs on this incident. As far as personnel assigned, we have over 1,500 personnel assigned at this point. We have a huge incident base camp down in Roseville. That was what could support this size of an incident. And then I'm not going to get too much into prevention. I usually do that on these meetings. I'm going to stay away from that and leave that up to Daniel today. But for updates on this fire, you can go on the internet, and if you go on the CAL FIRE website and go under incident, you can find the mosquito incident. Gives good incident updates on there, and that's pretty much what it's going to show you. It'll have a map on there, show you the cause. It's still under investigation. The Tahoe National Forest is working on that. And this website also shows many of the incidents that CAL FIRE has in the state, big incidents. So it's a good website to definitely bookmark. And then this was an hour ago off the Bald Hill camera. So if you're not familiar with the Alert Wildfire cameras, I also recommend using that Alert Wildfire camera. It's pretty cool to check that out. In the summer, it's not so cool when you're looking at wildland fires, but in the winter, it's pretty cool to see all the snow on the mountains. So it's a pretty good asset. Also, pretty good. You can get some pretty good information off of it. And then there's also some private sourced information areas you can go to. In addition to the county ones, let's not forget Placer County, also the Placer County website. But the privately sourced stuff like Ubinet does a good job at updating, getting updates. And then another app, there's a bunch of apps now. And one of my favorite apps, to be honest with you, is this Watch Duty app. It seems to work pretty good. You can actually set it to your phone for your area, not just Placer County, but if you lived in Siskiyou County, and it'll alert you when there's fires and give you updates. And it's really, really pretty cool. So with that.
And then Mike, will you just mention real quickly for the audience about the relation of this fire and its threat to the city of Auburn proper?
It's as you saw, it's sitting below Forest Hill proper in that canyon. So it has a long ways to go to Auburn, and it's not going in a westerly direction. I'm not going to tell you that that's never going to happen. It is possible, but it's not probable. Okay. But the other thing to keep in mind is last year, almost to a year from the date that this started, we had the bridge fire, right? And I unfortunately was the incident commander on the bridge fire also when it started. And on the bridge fire, if you look on Google Earth, you'll see over above Mammoth Bar, around Mammoth Bar, you will see very large fire breaks along there. And on the bridge fire, we opened those up. That was one of my priorities, was to open that up to protect the people of Forest Hill from the bridge fire. And now the benefit to having those fire breaks in place is now we're protecting Auburn from the mosquito fire. Same thing. And there's 3 of those that are very large. And I think if you go up further, you'll see on Google Earth, there's more than 3. Those fire breaks were put in the early 70s. And but anyhow, during the bridge fire, we opened several of those up for that reason. And that's all I have. I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Chief. Just to keep us moving along here, if you do have questions, put those in the chat feature or raise your hand. Chief, I know you are very busy. Are you able to stick around for a little bit to answer those questions?
I am. I'm going to try and stick around. And the other thing is, if you have questions that you're not getting answered, or you're in the fire area, and you're watching this or you're evacuated, you can always call 211 to get some of those questions answered as well, or go to the mosquito fire. If you look up on the internet, mosquito fire, a lot of your questions probably be answered on the internet. But if you don't have that ability, 211 is always a good option too.
Great. Thank you, Chief. I did put the links that you referenced in the chat feature. So for everybody in the chat feature, you have the CAL FIRE website link for the mosquito fire, the alert wildfire camera that the Chief referenced. You can pull it up right now live and see the fire, and then the Ready Placer website. If you do have questions for Chief Rufinot, please put those in the chat feature. Again, he is very busy. So hopefully, Chief, you'll be here. We'll before we wrap up. But on behalf of the city of Auburn, Chief, thank you for taking the time today to keep us informed.
And one other thing, the incident command team will be doing some public meetings starting at 7 p.m. and those will be online tonight. And I will track those down and I'll put that on there so you guys have the link for that also. And that'll be a real good link, a little bit more different than talking about what we're talking about today with Auburn, but you'll get a longer update with the fire for sure.
Great. Well, thank you again, Chief. We really appreciate your time.
No problem.
The next person I'd like to introduce is our fire chief here in the city of Auburn, Chief Dave Spencer, to talk about what we as an Auburn community can do when it comes to preparedness, even pre-planning, and even some evacuation discussions. So, Chief Spencer, it's all yours.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. And I appreciate everybody participating in this meeting today. As you know, here within the city limits, we've been working diligently for the last several years, trying to make sure that our community understands the importance of preparation and preparedness, because as we've been saying for many, many years now, it's not a question of if the fire is going to come, it's when the fire is going to be coming. I appreciate Chief Rufinot's comments about the benefits of the bridge fire by putting in those fire breaks so that we as a community have not just our shaded fuel break that we've been working on, but also the mechanical work that was done by the bulldozers to help protect our community. I just wanted to underscore again, we're in a day and age in which it's really important for the homeowner to do their defensible space and as much home hardening as they can. The reason for that is these large scale fires, we're not going to be able to put firefighters in front of the head of the fire. It's just too dangerous. These fires are moving too rapidly. So what will happen is the head of the fire will move through a community, and then we'll bring in the firefighters behind it and extinguish whatever's there. And that's why we want you to harden your home, provide that defensible space, because we know that the science says that if you do that work, the likelihood of your home surviving significantly improves. So at this point, I'll just take a break and kick it back to you, Daniel.
All right. Well, thank you, Chief. I appreciate that. The next person I want to introduce here is Lindsay Davidson. She is a new member of the Auburn City Fire Department and really a new position for our city, specifically focused on community risk reduction. So I want to ask Lindsay to come on and talk more about preparedness and some of the efforts moving forward.
Yeah, so our preparedness department is very new, but we're kind of building off of a lot of the CAL FIRE material and other communities' material that is kind of out there. So I'll share my screen and I'll kind of show what we've been developing within the City of Auburn Fire Department, and kind of the things that we want to make sure that every neighborhood in our city has, and that they are all communicating with each other to be sure that each neighborhood is prepared. So here is a couple of examples of checklists and communication plans that we are going to be making sure that we distribute to heads of the fire-wise communities so that they can be sure that all of their neighbors and members have them. So the go bag checklist, making sure that we are ready to go when evacuation is upon us. And so when we get that evacuation warning, we're not scrambling to get everything together. We want to make sure that our community has everything ready. So these documents are already on the website, so you can access them on there. And I'll try to put that link in the chat as well after this.
Real
The family
quickly,
communication.
Lindsay, just real quick, we're not seeing your screen.
Oh, just kidding. Let's see if I can go back to that. Let's go share screen. Cool. All right, hang on. Better.
There you go. Perfect.
All right. So as I was talking, but you guys weren't seeing, the go back checklist on the left side, you can see the things that we are recommending that people get together ahead of time. And then we have the family communication plan on the right to kind of just make sure that you guys have each other's phone numbers in case you get separated, having a meeting location planned out ahead of time, and then signing up for Placer Alert. And then this is something that we have not quite released yet, but we are getting ready to. So we have kind of broken down the city into our police department reporting districts. And so that kind of really focuses on individual communities. And so we will then be able to distribute these different handouts that show your community and your community's evacuation plan and your evacuation routes. We are keeping the routes very general. And by that, we know that our community knows their neighborhood the best. And so we're kind of just showing everybody where the main routes are going to be, where you can get to, and the general direction to be heading. But with these documents, they'll have a lot of good information on the Ready, Set, Go program and how to prepare your home, how to get everything ready so that when the evacuation time comes, you are just out the door and on your way. Another just kind of evacuation checklist to have. People prefer different layouts and different ways to get ready. So we've kind of given a few different options. This one is not quite on the website, but it will get up there pretty soon. And so then this is the general overview of the different reporting districts that we have separated the evacuation zones into. So you can kind of see they focus the general neighborhoods, or the big neighborhoods take up the majority of the different reporting districts. And so through the Nextdoor app, through PD uses a system called Everbridge, we are able to break them down and focus on these target neighborhoods. And that is another really important thing. I don't know if PD is on here or not, but they really recommend signing up for the system Everbridge. And it is a way that you are able to provide your family information to our local services. So the fire department and the police department are able to see if you have a special needs member in your family, if you have somebody with disabilities, if you think you're going to need help to get your family out of the house, and all of those different things. And so you're able to give them that information. They're able to see it, see where you live, and put extra resources in that area if need be. And I believe, and then this is also on the website. We can kind of talk about this later if we need to, but this is kind of the ready part of Ready, Set, Go for us. This focuses on our city ordinance and the defensible space required for that. Again, this is on the website as well now, so general overview, but you can go check it out on there. And I believe that is all I have.
Lindsay, if I can just add additionally for the folks that are on the call, when we talk about evacuation and the process of that, that's a primary function of our police department. And so when we have an incident, much like what Chief Rufinat was describing, we'll identify the overarching zones in which we're going to evacuate, and we'll put some prioritization to that. And so the way that we notify people is through the Everbridge, where it is a system that you have to opt into, meaning that you have to go on to Placer Alert and sign up for it so that you get the notification. So that's the systems that we have currently. And so I just want to encourage everybody to make sure that you have that and that you've opted into that system. And so it works very effectively, and that's what you can expect from us and our police department. Now, in addition to that, what I will tell you is that the reality is that we need you as neighbors and community members to help each other. If you know that your neighbor has some functional needs or disabilities, that's really important because they're going to need help. And certainly from the fire department's perspective, we're going to be tasked with trying to suppress the fire. And so we're going to need community members to help each other get out of harm's way once we initiate evacuations. And remember that evacuations come in notifications and then orders. And when we announce that it's time to evacuate, my expectation is that you'll get your go bag and you'll start moving out of the area, because in the absence of that, it's just going to create additional problems. So with that, I'll take a break and kick it back to Dan.
All right, thank you, Chief. Appreciate that. Already some questions coming in. We'll take a look at those and get to them here momentarily. Again, if you have questions for the chief, for our community mitigation manager, please put those in the chat feature. The next person I'd like to introduce is Katie Combs Pritchard. She is with our Health and Human Services Animal Control. Is going to be our next discussion here. Sandy, you are unmuted and joining us right now. If you don't mind going on mute.
Like your brag type thing.
Dave, I'll let you maybe mute her for us.
Yeah, give me just a second.
Yeah.
I think it's your brag.
Katie Combs Pritchard, I'll turn it over to you to talk about what people can do when it comes to their small and large animals.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. So again, my name is Katie, and I'm the Public Information Officer for our Health and Human Services Department at the county, which includes several divisions, but including our animal services folks. So I'll just talk just a little bit about what our animal services team does during wildfire emergencies and what we recommend in terms of preparedness, with the caveat that I'm, here in place of our on the ground staff who are, busy with mosquito fire activities right now. So, echoing Lindsay's discussion, similar to the way you will make a plan for yourselves, we really encourage folks to make a plan for your animals, make arrangements in advance for places to take your pets and livestock, and similarly build a go kit for your animals. So having animal supplies, carriers, medications, and then other things you might not think of, like vaccination records, photos, treats and bedding and toys that might make them feel comfortable in unstable situations, and things like that. And then preparing your animals, making sure if you have large animals, making sure that they're comfortable being transported in trailers, having conversations with your neighbors in advance so that if an evacuation takes place when you're not at home, seeing if they might be comfortable taking your pets with them, and things like that. So I'll be, at the end, I'll link to an area of our website that gives some of those tips in kind of a written checklist format. But then to kind of go over what our animal services staff do during emergencies. Obviously there's the sheltering aspect. So we have a newer animal services center here in Auburn that is kind of our first go-to during emergency situations for evacuated pets. We have 79 dog kennels on site and 45 cat kennels that, some are shared, so there's space for about 80 cats there. Right now with the mosquito fire, we have 186 total. We are very full. We have stopped intake at the Auburn location. We have 186 evacuated pets at our shelter right now. And then we also have our adoptables and other animals. So we have over 400 animals at our animal services center right now. So intakes right now are occurring at the Nevada County Fairgrounds. So in some situations, you'll see us, lean on those partnerships with other locations, fairgrounds, other places. In this case, Nevada County has stepped out, and they have, I believe, 174 animals at the fairgrounds as of this morning. So, and they still have some capacity there at the fairgrounds. So they're still doing intakes for the mosquito fire. Did want to reassure folks, we hear some uncertainty sometimes of, is my dog locked in a cage all day alone, not getting socialization. We have a really dedicated team of staff and volunteers from the community that support these animals. We try to do, 3 walks a day, air quality permitting, etc. Try to make sure they are comforted as much as possible with treats, love, etc. So have a good team there, making sure that they're taken care of. And then aside from the sheltering aspect of things, there's the animal control side. So our animal control officers, our ACOs, can respond and assist with locating animals if they were left behind, They can help capture those animals, reunite them with their owners. One thing, if you have to leave your pet behind, if there's like a quick moving evacuation and you aren't able to take all your pets with you, one thing that can help sometimes is leaving a note on your door or posted somewhere visible that indicates what animals you weren't able to get out and where they are, things like that. And then if you need to reach our ACOs for support, if there are left behind animals or you're trying to locate those animals, you would call the dispatch line for animal services to reach those folks, and they would attempt to retrieve and help those animals. And it also kind of depends on the disaster. In some instances with wildfires, we might shelter the animals in place, and instead of removing them, if it's safe enough, we'd bring food and water to them and continue to do patrols. So it really does depend on the situation as well. But we do encourage folks to, reach out to us if there are those types of concerns and not go back into the disaster zone yourself. And then the final thing I wanted to bring up, we get a lot of questions, especially right now with the mosquito fire, around donations and how folks can help. We do accept physical donations in this particular instance with the mosquito fire. Given the size of the incident, our friends at the Placer SPCA have offered to help us out with collecting physical donations at their site. And so they're going to amass them at once and give it that kind of consolidate everything and give it to us so that there's less of an impact on our staff at the actual shelter, and our staff can focus on caring for those animals. So the Placer SPCA is doing a physical donation drive right now. And then we also accept monetary donations for our shelter as well. That gives us a little flexibility in how we, do our response as the situation evolves. So I think those are the three primary areas I wanted to talk about. We have a kind of a short video that gives an overview, and you can see some visuals of the shelter and some of these spaces of our volunteers. So I'll put that link in the chat. I'll put the link to some of those preparedness tips in terms of getting a go kit together for your pets, things like that. And then I'll make sure that our link to our incident dashboard is also in the chat, which has both our evacuation locations for animals and as well as donation opportunities and other features. So, and yes, I am happy to answer any questions as well. Thanks for inviting me to join you guys today.
Great. Thank you so much, Katie, for that. I know there's already a question in the chat and we'll get right back to it, but really important information. Pets are like family for many of us. So our last speaker here that I want to introduce is Frank Uderver-Haley with the Greater Auburn Area Fire Safe Council. I'll quickly note that we have a number of representatives, Fire Safe Council, Rob Kisleff, the chair just popped up there, Kathy Baxter, myself, but I believe Frank is going to talk a little bit about what the Fire Safe Council does here for Auburn.
Sure. Hello, everybody. Am I coming in clear?
Yep, we can see and hear you.
Greetings. Thanks, everybody, for being here today. So I'm joined by many Fire Council representatives, but I'll just quick overview. We're here to be the educational bridge between the homeowners, the residents of the Greater Auburn area. So we encompass Penryn, Newcastle, Auburn proper. Many people from outside of our jurisdiction attend our meetings as well, but we're, like I said, the intermediary between all the reports from the stakeholders come to our meetings once a month. So very similar to the format today, only on a more detailed level. We get guest speakers usually every month to dive deep into certain topics. But I guess any questions? That's just pretty much a brief overview of what we do. We fundraise as well. We apply for grants to help out as needed. Homeowners, specifically with the Firewise communities. But yeah, again, our current chair is here. Rob, am I missing anything?
Maybe just a few specifics on some of the ways we can help in the community here too as well. As Frank mentioned, we do look for funding around fuel reduction, home hardening projects. We work with Auburn Fire and Placer Fire and our team of volunteers on our local red flag program to make sure that our red flags are up in the neighborhoods during a red flag event. We educate, Frank touched on this a little bit, we educate and promote Firewise communities If you're not familiar with Firewise Communities, they are a nationally recognized program that is designed to facilitate collaboration between and among residents to reduce wildfire risk in a neighborhood. It works very sort of analogous to a neighborhood watch type program. So it's something you can set up yourself in your neighborhood, work with a dedicated Firewise community coordinator from the county of Placer. And then we also offer a mentoring program. So we, many of us on the council are Firewise leaders as well within our communities. And we help to mentor those that are interested in getting started, to be able to kind of help figure out how to form boards, kind of go bounce questions off us on anything that they may have. And this helps to reduce the time really to get going on it. We have a monthly lunch and learn type educational program that happens on the second Friday of the month. And we also do outreach events. So we do farmers markets, the National Night Out, and other local events where we set up booths where residents can come and get information on fire safety and local programs and services. And I will shoot into the chat here our email address. So if you're interested in finding out more about what we do, you can get on our mailing list. We don't flood your inbox or anything, but you'll get notified of upcoming events and meetings and other pertinent information for our area.
Great. Thank you so much, Rob and Frank, for that. And I just want to quickly acknowledge the two of you, as well as Kathy, the other representatives from the Fire Safe Council. This really is the community grassroots effort to keep all of us residents informed. As was mentioned, it's not just for the city of Auburn. The council covers Newcastle, Penryn, Bowman, in addition to the city of Auburn. And so if you're interested, please come. But Rob, Frank, thank you for that good information. And if any of you are kind of looking to figure out how do I get my neighborhood involved in some of this work, that Fire Safe Council is a great place to start to help you get into a Firewise community. I know we have a number of folks on the call right now that are in Firewise communities, the neighborhoods that have been designated. So that was good information. Before we transition to questions, I know there's some already in the chat. Again, I'll just remind you, if you have questions for any of our speakers, please put those into the chat feature here. But one of the other additional questions that we're getting asked a lot is, how do I help? And how can I assist those that are victims of the fire? And so I did just put into the chat feature a link to the Placer Community Foundation. That is our foundation for the greater Placer County area that raises money and does philanthropic work. They have set up a relief fund and they are accepting donations. That is the best way you can help our neighbors in Forest Hill and the surrounding areas that are impacted, both the evacuees. We know that some may have likely lost their homes and will need long-term assistance. So please, if you're financially able to, make a donation there. Lastly, before we move to questions here, I did want to acknowledge that there are a number of your city leaders on this call. In addition to myself, we have Mayor Sandy Amara, Vice Mayor Alice Dowden Calvillo, Council Member Rachel Waddell Harris, and even our City Manager Don Levy, who have all been participating in making sure that our community is safe and prepared. It just so happens on our city agenda for the City Council meeting on Monday, we will be talking about wildfire preparedness, and so I would definitely encourage you to come and participate in that discussion. But with that, thank you very much to our speakers. A lot of them are very busy. Let's jump right into questions. So I'm going to go backwards a little bit here, but Lynn Tennell had asked for Katie. This is for you. If there are ways residents can offer temporary housing for pets during emergency evacuation events that may be outside of and free up some space in the shelter.
Yeah, that's an option during some events. I would say right now during the mosquito fire, our emphasis, especially because we have bandwidth and capacity at the Nevada County Fairgrounds, we're really emphasizing that. Mostly because doing one-on-one matching locations with community members, it can be labor intensive intensive for our staff, and we're trying to preserve their ability as much as possible to focus on caring for the animals. But so right now we're still emphasizing that space at Nevada County Fairgrounds, which is not to say that's not an option. I know that's going on independently of the county, you know, in Facebook groups dedicated to mosquito fire. A lot of people are arranging those kind of arrangements kind of independently of our office, and we welcome and encourage that. So I know there are mosquito fire Facebook groups out there where people are offering those services up, and people are directly connecting with them themselves.
Great, thank you for that, Katie. Frank had a question. He mentioned that he lives in Auburn, currently out of town, asked about the level of evacuations in Auburn and specifically about the roadblocks. So I don't know if either of the chiefs want to answer that question.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. I'll just briefly touch on the city of Auburn. We don't have any roadblocks or traffic flow patterns through the city. We're about 12 miles south of southwest of the incident. And so no problem here within the city, but I'll let Chief Rupanat speak to some of the road closures that are up further toward Forest Hill.
Yes, the last information I had, the road was closed basically at Old Forest Hill, Old Auburn Forest Hill Road and Forest Hill Road ended up into Forest Hill. But you can, if you go to, I'll put the link down for, I believe it's Caltrans, it'll have that information on the road closures. You can also go to the Placer County Sheriff's Office website and Facebook page, and the CAL FIRE NEU, like Dora, Union, Edward Facebook page, and that information will be there. And then I talked about, we put the link for the CAL FIRE website to get incidents on, and a lot of that information is also on there, as well as we talked about some of the sourced out apps that you can join, like such as Watch Duty. They're on there also.
Great, thank you for that. Did get a question on Facebook from Faith, and I don't know if any of our speakers can answer this, but she asked, will Auburn schools be closed due to the smoke advisory? Eric White, maybe I'll put you on the spot. I know you have been working with the county with the health warnings that are in place. Can you expand on the coordination that's happening with the schools, and if you know of any closures outside of, again, the fire evacuation area, but due to the smoke?
Yeah, that's a great question, Daniel. I'm not aware of any schools that are going to be closing. What we do is we work very closely with Placer County Office of Education and share information with all the superintendents in the counties. When we do issue a health advisory, that information is provided to them, and then it's at their discretion whether or not they want to cancel classes, do them remotely, or have them in person. Typically what we see is the schools do stay open, but they curtail their outdoor activities, so they might have lunch indoors, PE indoors, things like that.
Great, thank you very much. That looks like we've answered all the questions in the chat, but I do want to give another opportunity if anybody has any questions for any of our speakers. Please place that in the chat. In the meantime, there are a host of great links that are in that chat as well, and so make sure to take a look at that. Chief Rupanat just put in some additional road closure information in there. I want to reiterate the Placer Alert link. John Dunleavy placed that in there. That's really critical. As the chief had indicated, you've got to sign up your phone in order to get those notifications on the phone. But man, I get them on my phone and in my email, and it is a great way to stay on top of emergency situations in the region. So Placer Alert is so critical that you sign up. Chief, David had asked, and this was mentioned earlier on, so Chief Rupanat, I will ask you if you want to answer this one more time. And obviously probably the most important question for Auburn residents, what's the likelihood of an Auburn evacuation?
The likelihood of an Auburn evacuation, like I said, the fire is it's not moving in a westerly direction all that quickly right now. It's mainly going to the east. So let's just pray that it keeps going to the east. So I'm not going to say that there's a likelihood of that. There's, like I said, is it possible that the fire can come down towards Auburn? Yes. Is it probable? No, it's not at this point. So unless we have some severe weather, change in the weather, You know, it's but when you talk about the likelihood of an evacuation in Auburn, Chief Spencer is probably going to strangle me for this, but you know, there's a lot of stuff that goes on around Auburn, whether it's on the freeway or it's in the canyon, and you need to be you know, this whole meeting we're talking about prevention. We're talking about just this one fire, but the reality of it is Auburn sits in a wildland urban interface area. It has canyons on one side and wildland urban interface on the other side. Every day in the summertime, there's a possibility that you could be asked to leave in a moment's notice. And preparation and preparedness are your best options for that. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's my advice. Just be prepared, be ready to go, sign up for those websites, plaster alerts, and listen to what Lindsay has said today. Really good information. Visit the City of Auburn Fire Department webpage for the Ready, Set, Go information, the CAL FIRE web pages. Just get a lot of your information off there. There's some good ideas. You heard about having a go bag for your animals today. Really good information that people don't think about. So thank you.
Yeah, no, good information, Chief. Thank you for that. As we conclude here, I'm going to put my fellow council members on the spot and just see if they have any closing comments while we give it one last chance for any questions. But Mayor Sandy Amari, I know you're joining us. I don't know if you have anything very briefly you'd like to say as we conclude here. How about Vice Mayor Alice Dowden Calvillo, Council Member Riddell Harris? I didn't let them know that we were going to do this, so you know, no offense if they that they're not able to get off of mute, but you want to give them the opportunity here.
Thank you, Daniel. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who provided information today. I think this is incredibly informative, and again, it's very important for us to all take this opportunity to get ourselves prepared. Not only for potential evacuation at some point in time in the future, but also to harden our homes so that we can help to prevent fire at our home. So again, thank you to everybody, and please stay safe, and please keep all of our firefighters in your hearts and prayers. It's awfully hard for them out there, especially with these high temperatures. So thank you very much, Daniel.
Great, thank you very much. Sandy, Rachel? Not hearing them off mute. Chief Spencer, final words.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. Again, as we opened up this meeting, I just want to thank everybody for taking the time out of their weekend to join us and you know, just receive this good information. I just would underscore what Councilmember Dowden Calvillo said about we need to continue to prepare. It is not a question of if, it's when. And so that home hardening and defensible space is critical, along with being educated, reviewing all of those flyers that have that prep information there. We'll continue as a fire department, we here within the city to wrap our arms around our community members and bring them forward to be in a less risky position. That's really our focus for the next several years, is reducing our risk to our community. So again, thank you to everybody for being a part of this meeting.
Great, Chief, thank you so much. And thank you again to all of our speakers today. Chief Rufinot, I know you have been incredibly busy. We are internally grateful for your efforts and your troops. I'm going to conclude in the comments with my favorite, no offense to the city, preparedness website, and that's CAL FIRE's readyforwildfire.org website. Please go there. But again, thank you to the National Weather Service. Thank you to Placer County Air Pollution Control District, as well as Placer County Health and Human Services. We appreciate everybody's time today. And again, this is not it. And we have to continue to be prepared. And so I appreciate you taking the time to be educated this afternoon. So on behalf of the entire City Council, on behalf of the Greater Auburn Area Fire Safe Council, and all of our stakeholders, please have a safe weekend. Please do your part to be prepared, but stay safe. And we will talk with you all very soon. Thanks.